if you think about in like the different sort of characteristics of modern society, are there any things that you find like worrying or challenging when it comes to, I guess, how they influence some of these things? Like the first thing that kind of comes to mind for me, at least, is, you know, the surge in online dating and things like this. I wonder if that changes the expectations of what a relationship should be or how a relationship should start and other things, I guess, beyond online dating.
I guess thinking about the honesty and the respect, you know, honesty is not mandatory in online dating. There's lots of dishonesty that goes on, and or half truths or semi-truths
or well-crafted truths.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult because how do you meet people? And so I really understand this, you know, this boom in online dating and this sense of wanting to get to know somebody a little bit from their profile before you meet them. But just really important to keep in mind, you're not really getting to know them. In a sense, you have to be in a room with somebody to really get to know who they are, in my opinion.
And to see the weirdness.
To see the weirdness and to see how they respond to things in the moment and how they, what their body language tells you about them. But from a respect perspective, I think, unfortunately, online dating, you know, we're not necessarily dating people within our who live in a radius of where we live. So if you suddenly decide you don't want to see somebody, you can, you know, this idea of ghosting, that you can just cut somebody off and never see them again. That I think there is a lack of, well, I've heard lots of stories anyway about a real lack of respect that can be there. Yeah, something that can feel quite intense and like it's going somewhere can just suddenly be severed, and
it's just like quite an abrupt end to the story.
Yeah, and no, you know, as far as respect for clear communication, that's not. It's possible to evade that with online dating. You can just not respond. Which is, it's really harsh.
It's very, very harsh. It must just, and it must, I think what's worrying about it is if it changes how you would act in a otherwise, well, quote unquote, normal situation. I appreciate that normal might actually be very different for lots of different people, but like the more traditional legacy way of, I guess, meeting people and ending relationship, but also still, I guess, seeing them. Or basically what I'm saying is, how do people's experiences of online dating, when, say, it goes wrong, or if it ends suddenly, and whatever that experience might be, how does that then potentially impact a normal situation that arises?
I guess what's coming to mind is that when we don't have clear communication, we just fill that space or that void with our own interpretations of why that person might not want to see us again, or why things have ended. Yeah, depending on the stories that are already there for us, we could just fill that space with our insecurity. Oh, they didn't like this about me. I shouldn't have said this, or lots of second guessing of self really goes on. From people I've spoken to anyway, about those abrupt endings where there's not the honesty and there's not the integrity really of the other person to be clear about what's happened.
I'd love to, I guess, double click on that bit, which is like filling the space with your own uncertainty. Like, because it feels like assumptions are a useful thing, but also very often quite a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And they lead to miscommunication. And I guess what is the impact that assumptions can have in a relationship? Bit of a vague question.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I guess, there's just stories really. If we make assumptions are just stories or a version of what we think might be happening, which is very rarely what is actually happening. We make assumptions so that we can just have shortcuts and we can put things in tidy boxes. Oh, this must be this and this must be this. And the problem is so often that's about past experience. And so we carry that past experience forward with us in attempts to keep ourselves safe. Yeah, unfortunately, big sweeping statements about, you know, men are this way or women are this way, or I am not capable of that, or whatever that story is limiting, and it limits the relationship, or it limits what we choose to do with our lives or things we choose to say yes to, unfortunately.
I'll just pause and say I think that's an excellent articulation of that.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's just so interesting to think about, that they are just stories.
They are. And our lives are full of stories.
Yeah, they're full of stories, and they're full of really powerful stories, and stories that can really jar with other stories that are unfolding.
Yes. And again, just back to this communication. If we can say to somebody, this is what's playing out for me, this is what my assumption is here, then someone else can say, oh, that's not what my assumption is here. Or that's not what was going on for me, or that's not how I intended it, or, you know, that kind of clarity of where both people are.